Chapter 32. I was content to remain here with Isis' essence, and I carried my heart and mind, but Isis herself came to me and said that now I must tell my story, that the lies of the last 2000 years must come to an end, that the feminine is returning to balance to the male, that the cosmic mother is revealing herself at the beginning of the ending of time. And so it is that I reveal one of the most secrets of the ages, that spirit, the male principle, in order to return to itself through its journey into matter, requires the assistance of the feminine principle, the intelligence of matter itself, but from the solar light of field perspective of the masculine principle, the feminine principle carries within her a dark, moist, and dangerous abyss. The solar principle feels threatened by the darkness of the lunar aspect, but it is in the joining of the sun and the moon, the joining of the masculine and feminine principle in equilibrium, in energetic balance, that true illumination is attained. When Yeshua prepared himself uh, with me for his ordeal before the Garden of Gethsemane, I was the embodiment of Isis. I was she. There was no difference between her and myself. I had been trained in the practices that would ensure this, and so Yeshua, as the sun, the solar principle, manifest in the realms of matter, joined with me, the moon, and he was joined with Isis herself, and his elevation could not have occurred without her. She is the cosmic mother. Other cultures call her by other names, but she is the same. To the extent that the male initiate is able to nest into the magnetic fields with his beloved and draw into himself the vibrational energies of these magnetics, to this extent he is making contact with Isis herself, the cosmic mother, the creatrix of all time and space. To the extent that the female initiate is able to surrender to the magnetics and the letting go into her own nature, she becomes Isis herself. When these two events occur at the cosmological level, the male initiate becomes energetically attuned to Osiris, and the female initiate becomes attuned to Isis, and out of the commingling of their magnetic fields, Horus is born. Expect that Horus, in this case, does not take form as a child. Horus takes form and Horus takes flight within the car bodies of the initiates themselves. They are raised up in a very real manner. They can take flight within the celestial realms of their own being. The truth is that Osiris cannot rise without Isis, nor Isis without Osiris. The higher god Horus is birthed from the magnetics of their joining. The male initiate, being electric by nature, thinks that he can make it happen by himself, but he cannot. Isis waits for him to recognize this, but he does not. For centuries she was waited, and now we are at the beginning of the ending of time, and the pressure is strong. This is one of the reasons I have come forward to those male initiates able to find the pathways in themselves to surrender to the Isis powers carried within the nature of their beloved, or carried within their own natures. If practicing the solitary path, know that you do this not just for yourselves but for all mankind. When one undertakes the sex magic of Isis, it is not possible to do this just for oneself, for the practices quickly elevate the initiate into the level of the living myth, for it is highest expressions. As we have indicated before, the male initiate becomes Osiris himself, and the female initiate becomes Isis, and the Horus is birthed out of their magnetics. For those engaged in the solitary practice of alchemy, this is accomplished through the magnetics of lunar and solar circuits. As the basic practice shared earlier is mastered, the black serpent of the moon, holding the essence of the void, quivers and shakes within the ka body of the initiate, much like the female initiate quivers and shakes within the arms of the male when practicing the sex magic. Within the initiate practicing the solitary way, the golden serpent, the sun, meets the black serpent of the moon in the center of the head, and the magnetic fields created by their co-mingling and the energetic reactions created by their intersections through the chakras or seals creates the horus. So, whether it is done alone or with another does not intrinsically matter, but what must occur is both in both is the same. The sun and the moon must be in balance, and then the illumination, what we call horus, occurs.